As you are watching this video, this could be one of the last great buy the dip opportunities for Tesla stock that you're going to see for a very long time, minus any black swan events or something that comes in and disrupts the markets in a big way, in which I can't sit here and forecast that. So what I can see is you're actually at a very pivotal moment for Tesla stock. That's what we will discuss here in this video, just to be up front and center. I obviously could be wrong, but I do believe Tesla stock is likely going to rally huge coming on their earnings on April 23rd. And I think from now until then, my personal opinion, I'm buying as many shares as possible. So I want to let you guys know a little bit of my game plan, why I'm so bullish heading into Tesla's earnings, and perhaps help you guys to formulate a stronger opinion, or at least, well, I'll give you my opinion. Because let's face it, there is a lot of people that are bearish on Tesla stock right now. It's popular to be bearish. If you are a fund and you're shorting Tesla, you're saying bearish things about Tesla, you've been spot on. I mean, Tesla is the worst performing stock in the S&P 500 to start 2024. There has been really no better short in terms of big tech names than Tesla. But I think that era is likely coming to an end, and well, the last 4 earnings now, Tesla stock has fallen almost 10% the day after. I think this could be a 20+% move to the upside this time around. But before we get into all of this key information, hit that like button as well as subscribe to the channel. Again, not because I said to, but because Emerson said to. If he could say Tesla stock, I would have him say Tesla stock, but see, Dada? Dada? No. Okay, so first things first, like I said, we're going to go over all of your earnings numbers, in particular, your EPS estimates, top line revenue estimates, all of that, at least my estimates personally. I don't think that really matters too much, so I don't want to spend too much time on the numbers themselves. Keep in mind, when you're investing in the markets, you're investing in forward returns. If you're buying Tesla stock today, you're not buying Tesla because what they did a year ago. You're buying Tesla stock because what they are going to do a year, 2, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the line. So it really doesn't matter too much what happened in Q1. It's all about what's going to happen coming the next quarter and the next quarter and so on and so forth. So I think just anecdotally, if you kind of look at Tesla stock right now and look at the bearish sentiment, I mean, look at this. The chart, I mean, it's pretty bad. People are bearish like you've never seen before, and at least in a long time. The last time you were this bearish is when Elon was selling a bunch of stock to buy the Twitter, platform. And I think way too many people are, being bearish on Tesla because of what has already happened. And actually, when you look ahead at what's going to happen or what's going to come, the picture looks a lot more optimistic, right? The last 6 months haven't exactly been great for Tesla. But 6 months later from now, 2 quarters from, this upcoming earnings, the situation's hopefully going to be looking a lot better. And if the markets are truly an instrument that rewards future profitability and future growth, then I think you're way too bearish right now in Tesla stock. So that's number one. I think the backdrop heading into Tesla's earnings are pretty good. I mean, other instances over the last 4 quarters, Tesla stock has, sold off 10% or so. Following earnings, it was right here. I mean, Tesla stock had rallied quite a bit from the $100 low. Tesla stock was like $180, sold off 10%. What happened? You bottomed out in April, then you ran to $300. Investors kind of shrugged that off. This earnings back in July of 2023, Tesla stock hit a high of $300. No surprise, sold off almost 10%. This earnings back here, you actually were about $270 at the high right before earnings, sold off a couple days before, but then you sold off 10%. But keep in mind, you hit a low of about $200, rallied all the way back up to about $280 or so. So you had come off of a decent rally, and then you just gave that back. Now, the last earnings that we seen, that was the one that was really bad because you were sitting at basically your October, November lows of 2023, and then you seen a 10%, 12% fall following earnings. Last earnings was particularly bad, the worst earnings out of the last, 4, and now this quarter, you're even much lower. So I think the bar is pretty low overall for Tesla. And again, expectations going ahead, they're pretty low. Adam Jonas with Morgan Stanley, probably one of the, most well-known, if not the most well-known, auto analyst out on Wall Street today, has covered Tesla for a very long time. People know who Adam Jonas is. He just lowered his estimate for Tesla deliveries down to 1.75 million. So that would be a year-over-year decline. Now, who knows if that's the number that we're going to get, but I mean, your expectations are very low. You started off this year with an expectation of 2.2 or so million deliveries. Some people were at 2.3 million. Some people were at 2.1 million. Now, Adam Jonas is at basically 1.7 million deliveries, less than last year. I think it's going to be pretty hard to disappoint investors with those low expectations. So again, long story short, I think you're set up in a favorable way. EPS estimates have fallen quite a bit. Adam Jonas believes Tesla could be free cash flow negative in 2024. I don't think that's really a reality here. I think Tesla's going to focus more on profitability, and that could be a big upside catalyst as well. If Tesla clearly tells the markets, we're going to focus more on profitability, we're going to sell what we can sell, and we're going to do our best to sell as many vehicles as we can sell, but we're going to focus on profitability and retaining margins. That's great news. I've come to kind of expect that a little bit, but I don't think Tesla's going to give us an outright commitment of no more price cuts. I think it's going to be kind of a gray area with Tesla saying, hey, we're going to prioritize margins, but if things were to get really bad and we really needed to cut price, then we would do that. So I don't know how exactly Tesla's going to react to that. And a little bit of my change of opinion, I guess, came from Kathy Wood 2 days ago. She said that Tesla's likely going to cut prices again. So, I think we're going to kind of get a combo of Tesla focusing more on margins while not outright dismissing ever seeing another price cut again. I don't think Tesla wants to back themselves into that kind of a corner, but I think overall it will be taken as margins are likely going higher from here, and that'll be good for Tesla stock. But again, depending how strong the Tesla team is and really emphasizing margin stability and making sure that margins don't erode further, that's going to probably dictate what happens to Tesla stock, at least partly. Now, I think the biggest thing actually has nothing to do with margins or profitability in the near term. I think the thing that could move Tesla stock the most is what we heard today from Elon. We're going to get more clarity on this situation, this debacle that we had today, that could potentially be game-changing for Tesla's stock, maybe forever. So here's the deal, a little bit of a backstory. This exclusive article came out from Reuters today, citing 3 people that work at Tesla and apparent messages from, Tesla executives saying that they're scrapping the $25,000 vehicle. Now, Elon Musk came out and said that that is false, that that's not what's going on. Elon Musk says here, Reuters is lying again, and obviously that's correct. But Reuters points out that Tesla is going to focus more on the Robotaxi network and development of that rather than pumping out $25,000 vehicles. Now, think about it like this. Read the tea leaves here, okay? Read the freaking tea leaves. Because we know that the initial production plans for the Model 2, we'll just call it that, the next generation vehicle, the Model 2, is going to be in Texas, right? At Giga Texas. But we know mass production is not going to be at Giga Texas, right? It is not going to be in the US, at least at first. And I'm really talking about thousands and thousands of vehicles. It's, you're never going to get production of the Model 2 that moves the needle for Tesla out of Tesla's US facility. So if anyone's been paying attention, I think Elon's been very clear on this. Mass production of the Model 2 will come later when Giga Mexico is constructed. Well, you've seen some delays there. Different things here and there, surveys that have had to have done. Mexico, they're currently building out the highway infrastructure around Giga Mexico to create easier transportation. There's a lot of different things that have really slowed down Giga Mexico. But the point is, mass production was never going to be at Giga Texas. And Reuters, they took this as Tesla is canceling the Model 2 projects. Well, Sawyer Merritt posted this, and I shared this in the last video, so skip past it if you already seen it. But if you watch the last video and you've seen this in the video, you might as well just listen to it again because it can't hurt. It says, Elon just said Reuters was lying. However, here's my general thinking. Tesla's low-cost $25,000 car and the Robotaxi were always going to be based on the same platform. They were going to be very similar, but the $25,000 version was going to have a steering wheel. Maybe Elon and the Tesla team have been so impressed with how good FSD 12 has performed, and were maybe thinking they should be shifting even more resources to the Robotaxi/FSD effort. This doesn't mean the $25,000 car is canceled. Again, they share the same platform. Elon Musk responded with these eyeballs and basically confirmed what Sawyer Merritt posted here. Now, if you think about this very logically, like simply, right? If mass production is not going to happen in Giga Texas, if like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of vehicles a year is not going to take place in Giga Texas is already, fully booked with the Model Y, the continuing ramp of the Cybertruck. What becomes very obvious to me, and correct me if you think I'm wrong down below in the comment section, I think Tesla is going to develop the first Model 2s for the Robotaxi network in Giga Texas. They're going to perfect that. They're going to get the manufacturing down. And these vehicles are only going to be for the Robotaxi. These are not going to be commercialized, vehicles for the public. Couple thousand a quarter, whatever the number is, that are going to be built for the Robotaxi network, probably still second half of 2025. And I think this just shows the plans that Tesla has to launch the Robotaxi network, likely second half of 2025, if not the beginning of 2026. After all, if we look at the rate of improvement we've seen with FSD, that wouldn't surprise me, right? Second half of 2025, it's the beginning of 2024 right now. Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if that's the kind of timeline we'd be looking at a Robotaxi network, if not the beginning of 2026. But point is, Tesla's still going to develop the $25,000 vehicle for the mass market, but they're going to do so in Mexico. Now, I think this could be really, really good as well, starting the production lines for the Robotaxi network, get some Robotaxis out on the road, get that network up and going as fast as possible. That's going to be really good for Tesla, I guess, hype, but overall profitability, right? When you start to bring in dollars from Robotaxi, that's going to be a big deal. Should be pretty high margin on that. But you also get to perfect the manufacturing. So when you do start mass manufacturing in Giga Mexico, hopefully it's just a smooth transition, right? So I think the writing is on the wall for this. Now, the question is, if I'm correct, and on the earnings call, Elon and the Tesla team say they're going to manufacture, thousands of Robotaxis for the Robotaxi network in Giga Texas first instead of the mass market. How does Tesla stock take that? Does Tesla stock take that as good or bad? Well, in my opinion, that would be very good news. That means the Robotaxi network is no concept project, that it's actually coming by, again, let's assume the second half of 2025, the timeline stays the same, and then maybe the mass production of the Model 2 comes second half of 2026, right? A year later. Give Tesla some time to perfect the manufacturing, get some Robotaxis out on the road, get, Model 2s cranking in Giga Mexico. Would this be good? I think this would be super, super positive for Tesla. Because if the markets are, again, forward-looking, developing Robotaxis and getting Robotaxis out there on the road, you can start to model some huge numbers for Tesla. Again, let's just kind of nitpick a single city, right? There is about 100,000 plus taxis, Ubers, different forms of transportation besides like buses and railways in, let's say, New York, right? And what's interesting is New York just put out an open application for companies to submit their applications to form Robotaxi networks, which is pretty interesting and maybe just a coincidence, who knows. But there's 100,000 of these. Let's say each taxi driver does about 10 rides a day. I don't think that's too crazy. I think some are going to do more, some are going to do less. That could be 1 million taxi rides or Uber rides in New York City every single day. And you can be more aggressive with this, more conservative, doesn't matter. I just want to show you what one city could look like for Tesla and the Robotaxi network. So let's assume they operate 365 days a year, no days off. You have 365 million rides in New York City, right? And I'm just vaguely making these numbers up. Now, Uber says their average ride is about $45 or so. That could be $16.425 billion in a single year. Even if you say, Tesla's only going to get a 20% market share, which I think is pretty conservative. I think most people are going to opt for a Robotaxi network. I don't think a lot of people like to be driven around by someone else. Correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if you would rather have someone drive the car for you rather than the car drive itself. But if Tesla could just do 20% of that market, considering these numbers, are correct or not, that could be $3.3 billion in overall revenue. If Tesla could even bring in, let's say 25% to the bottom line of this, right? That's $821.25 million. Divide that by 3.3 billion shares outstanding. You could be looking at 25 cents to Tesla's EPS based on one city. You know what the expectations are today for Tesla's EPS in 2024? Little over $2 per share. And I'm sure they're going even lower today based on this Reuters article. So these are big numbers, let alone you get San Francisco, LA, larger markets maybe than even New York. Yeah, you're looking at pushing some huge numbers for Tesla over the longer term. And you can start to model that out when you actually have robotaxis out there on the street. So I think that's why this could be, so big. And maybe the number could even be double this. Maybe it could be 50 cents of EPS. If you assume Tesla could bring in 50% net margins or gross margins, maybe that adds almost 50 cents to EPS just on one city. So I think the faster you get to robotaxis, the faster you get to Tesla stock, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 plus dollars per share. And the markets are forward looking. So by the time you actually get to that place where robotaxis are being launched out on the roads, people are going to be modeling numbers for the next coming years that, are going to raise Tesla's stock by quite a bit. Considering right now, when the stock is super depressed and really just counted out overall by Wall Street, being the worst performer in the S&P to start 2024, I think you're prone for a huge rally coming after earnings. Now, I could be wrong. Maybe Elon and the Tesla team, they're a little bit more conservative. Maybe they don't give us any clarity on what this Reuters article was about, the canceling of the Model 2. Maybe they don't say much about anything. Maybe it's another disaster. That's fine. That's fine. Because eventually, in 2024, I think we'll be proven right on this whole entire video. I think inevitably, Tesla will make it clear that they are focusing on the Robotaxi network. And I think they're going to make it clear on April 23rd. But again, it's hard to kind of expect something from Elon or the Tesla team because you never know what to expect. But I do think this quarter, there's a lot more riding on the backs of Elon and the Tesla team, considering the progress we've seen on FSD, considering just how down and out Tesla stock is. It's a bad look if you're the worst performer in the entire S&P 500. That's a really bad look. You want to get Tesla stock higher. There's also this effect where if your stock's doing poorly, then your business can also do poorly, right? Companies don't want to work with you as much because they don't want to be associated with you if investors don't want to associate with you as well. So that's kind of my expectation for this upcoming earnings. Again, just to put it clearly, the Tesla team's going to say, yeah, we're not going to mass produce the, Model 2 in Texas. We're going to mass produce the Model 2 in Mexico. But we're going to start producing the Model 2 in Texas. Like they have said before, this shouldn't be rocket science here. And we're going to get the manufacturing process correct. But the vehicles that we are going to manufacture are going to be robotaxis. They're not going to be consumer Model 2s. They're not going to be sold to the public. They are going to be manufactured by us, owned by us, and deployed in a robotaxi network. They may outline cities that they are targeting first. And I'm expecting to have some kind of guidance around the Robotaxi network. Again, guys, if you were bullish on Tesla at $400 per share, this is what you have been waiting for. And I believe it's coming on April 23rd, or at least a set in stone kind of guidance for this. And that'll be huge. So if I am correct, I do believe Tesla stock can rally probably over 20% following the day after their earnings. I think it's going to be one of those moments where the shorts are really caught off sides. The bears, even retail investors, they really have to question why they're so bearish on Tesla, or why they got so bearish on Tesla, that maybe things are actually getting much better for Tesla. Maybe not in terms of demand, but maybe in terms of future expectations for profitability based on the Robotaxi network. I've been going over this news almost every single day of new updates for FSD, how good FSD is. Sure, it's got some problems still, it's not fully worked out. But I think the Tesla team is probably confident enough to say a year and a half from now, second half of 2025, they will start launching the Robotaxi network, or start putting applications in for the Robotaxi network. I think that's pretty conservative based on the rate of improvement that we have been seeing to FSD. Now, again, the problem is who's going to take liability for that, blah, blah, blah. You have insurance, you have workarounds for that. How does Cruise and Waymo take responsibility or liability for their Robotaxi network? Who knows, right? Let's be honest. I mean, Tesla's probably in a better position to take responsibility for the Robotaxi network, especially if it's much better than Cruise and Waymo, than even Cruise and Waymo have been, and they've been operating Robotaxis for a little while now. Obviously, there's been some setbacks there, but long story short, Tesla's going to figure out the liability issues. I hate when that's an argument, like that's going to keep Tesla from making tens of billions, hundreds of billions of dollars in profit in a single year. Like Tesla's not going to figure out the liability. Are you kidding me? Right? That's just asinine to me. So I don't believe that for a second. But a 20% move higher from current prices, assuming Tesla stock stays where it is, heading into April 23rd. A 20% move more specifically would put the stock right at about $197.50 per share, butting up to your $200 level of presumed resistance that we're going to see once you get back to $200. And even with that in mind, if I'm correct and we get even half of what I'm expecting, Tesla stock could rally well into the mid 200s over the next, coming months. Just to get back to $230 would be a 40% gain from here. And you were just at $260 to start the year. And net, I think if I'm correct, that is, a much better place that Tesla stock will be in than even where we were to start 2024. I mean, a 50% rally from here would put the stock back to about $247 per share. I think that's possible. Now, coming next week, you will get the CPI report that will be coming out. We did get ISM service prices paid. That came out yesterday, and that came in really good, to the lowest level you have seen in a long time. And typically, service prices paid, it tends to follow the path of inflation, right? Mid-2020, you started to get a little bit more inflation. By 2021, you were starting to get a lot of inflation. 2022, same story, right? Lots of inflation. What really happened, though, is prices paid started to fall towards the end of 2022, the same time inflation started to fall. 2023, prices paid started to fall a lot. Until you got to about June, you've seen a little bit of an uptick in prices paid, continue to fall into November, December of 2023. Lots of progress on inflation was made during this period of time, and now you're hitting the lowest levels for prices paid that you have seen since the crash of the Rona. Okay, I think this could translate into a better than expected CPI report coming out next week, which also could be very positive for Tesla stock in the short term. So let's start here with total deliveries. Now, Tesla's average selling price is like, $44,000. I will bump that up to $45,000 because presumably a couple thousand Cybertrucks were sold in this quarter. So just simple math here. I mean, this is like easy math. You could be looking at top line revenue for the auto business around $17.4 billion. We know that last quarter was a record to energy generation and storage. So that's likely to add about $2.7 billion to Tesla's top line revenue number. And you could be looking at about $20.1 billion for the top line. If you add services to this, which services tend to be a little over $2 billion a quarter, let's call it $2.2 billion a quarter. That was roughly where the number was last quarter. And you're looking at $22.306 billion. So definitely not a record before. Definitely not a huge crazy number. Let's assume as well, Tesla, like last quarter, they bring in 11% net to the bottom line. Could be a little bit less than that because obviously production was higher than deliveries. So that's definitely going to hurt things quite a bit. That could be $2.45 billion to the bottom line. Divide that by 3.3 billion shares outstanding. I totally did that calculation wrong, but that's going to be about 70 cents or so to the bottom line, right? Roughly. And then you could go ahead and discount that by, let's say, another 25% based on the difference between production and deliveries. You could be looking at EPS of like 47 to 50 cents. That would be my estimate. Is Wall Street going to care about those numbers? Probably not. It's all going to be about what is going to come next and the forward-looking kind of guidance. I don't think Tesla's going to give you official guidance as far as deliveries or even margins, but I do think they're going to have positive things to say about Tesla's profitability going ahead. I think they are going to start prioritizing profitability. Not that they will not cut prices again, but they're going to focus and prioritize profitability. And then I think the big kind of home run for Tesla's earnings as far as Tesla stock, what could send the stock up 20+% the day after earnings, will have to do with the Robotaxi network. Nobody's expecting Robotaxis are coming anytime soon. I mean, nobody. Like literally nobody, besides like Kathy Woods and maybe me and some of you guys. Nobody on Wall Street is. That's going to catch everyone off guard. And when you have this many shorts in a stock like a Tesla and you get really good news, potentially business-changing news like the launch of the Robotaxi network in the second half of 2025, that's huge. I mean, you have 3.71% short interest of free float. You have $17.5 billion currently in short positions. This is the most sold short Tesla stock has been in a long time. You have to go back more than 18 months to get a short interest higher than where you are today. So let me know what you think about, everything said here in this video. I'm not trying to be a fortune teller here. I think the writing is on the wall. I could be wrong. So always contact a financial advisor, do your due diligence, don't listen to what I say as fact. This is only my opinion, just one opinion out of many to consider. But I think the writing is on the wall for the two things. Again, for like the fifth time in this video, the launch of the Robotaxi network, second half of 2025, in replace of the commercial Model 2s that were supposed to be sold to individuals. I think it's going to be Robotaxis produced by Tesla for the purpose of Robotaxis. So likely you're not getting a launch of the Model 2 until second half 2026, maybe even 2027 at this point. Whenever Giga Mexico is done, I'm sure we'll get more clarity on that. Number two, I think Tesla's not going to outright say no more price cuts. If they do, fine, that's great. But I think Tesla's going to take a hardline approach on focusing on profitability. They may say margins are not going lower than what you've seen, let's say, this quarter, right? If we do cut prices, it's because margins got better in one area or another. Maybe, the cost to produce the vehicles, the batteries got cheaper. Maybe labor was a little bit cheaper. But I do think these two things will have a huge effect on Tesla stock in a positive way. And if I'm correct, this could be the last great buy the dip opportunity that you're going to see in Tesla stock for a long time. So let me know what you think about this information down below in the comment section. Again, from now until April 22nd, we're going to have big data like CPI coming out next week, as well as retail sales and a plethora of other things, including banks that start to report their earnings coming next week and the following week. So let me know what you think about this information down below in the comment section. Hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.